This video contains spoilers for Curse of Strahd as well as Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, specifically the level called Vanrakdoom. Okay, hear me out. Argynvostholt from Curse of Strahd is a dungeon whose backstory features a knight and a dragon, who together led a war against an evil power. In the course of this effort, the dragon was corrupted and met his demise, and the knight, grief-stricken by the loss of his true love, was magically corrupted too, by despair and hopelessness, becoming a monster. The PCs encounter the knight in this monstrous state at the heart of the haunted ruins of a castle, and have a chance to make an enemy or a friend. Vanrakdoom from Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage is a dungeon whose backstory features a knight and a dragon who together led a war against an evil power. In the course of this effort, the knight was corrupted and met his demise, and the dragon, grief-stricken by the loss of his true love, was magically corrupted by despair and hopelessness into becoming a monster. The PCs encounter the dragon in this monstrous state, in the haunted ruins of a castle, and have a chance to make an enemy or a friend. They are both gothic dungeons telling a tragic story about the lost love between a knight and a dragon, and they are so similar. However, while Argynvostholt is a small, boring dungeon without any unique monsters or traps or anything like that, and while its backstory is delivered exclusively through dialogue from the boss monster, which means that the player characters cannot know the tragic backstory before they encounter the boss monster, Vanrakdoom is an expansive, interesting dungeon with unique monsters, and its tragic backstory is delivered as a series of prophetic visions which the player characters unlock as they find lost pieces of a magic artifact, a weapon, which they assemble. This means the player characters can know the tragic backstory of the dungeon before they encounter the boss monster, who is its lost victim. So if you know all of this and you're running Curse of Strahd, it should seem obvious. Just replace Argynvostholt with Vanrakdoom. Indeed, I think that you should do this, and here's how. Welcome to PhD&D everyone, I'm Dr. Bowers, and this is the second in a series of videos about Curse of Strahd and how to replace certain elements with other elements from different modules, and thereby either mix up or even improve your gaming experience when you run Curse of Strahd. Today, we're replacing Argynvostholt with Vanrakdoom from Dungeon of the Mad Mage. The first step, of course, is just a replacement of characters. You erase Argynvostholt from Barovia's map, you plop down Vanrakdoom instead, and then you replace the character of Vanrak Moonstar with Godfrey Gwillem, and replace Gleister or Umbraxicar with Argynvost. That's right, with this replacement, Argynvost is in fact still alive, just now succumbing to the forces of despair and turning into a shadow dragon. The basic story, of course, will be the same. Godfrey and Argynvost came from another realm, probably the Forgotten Realms, with the intent of fighting some evil power which they could sense coming from Barovia. This power was Strahd, and so, upon arriving, Argynvost and Godfrey led an actual war, commanding Barovia's elves to rise up against Strahd and try to defeat him. This war unfortunately led in the near genocide of the elves of Barovia, and in the course of the war, Godfrey turned to fell powers, the dark powers of Ravenloft, in an effort to gain strength in his war against Strahd. He was corrupted and became a Death Knight, and Argynvost reluctantly, tragically descended from Silver Dragon to Shadow Dragon, and following Godfrey's suicide with a magical weapon, now stands in danger of being a Shadow Dragon forever. When Godfrey killed himself with a magic weapon, Argynvost flew into a rage and tore the weapon piece by piece and scattered it around the castle. And now he waits and has been waiting, brooding, eating his own heart at the very throne room of Vanrakdoom, which we are calling Argynvostholt, because we're doing the replacement. So there's the first suggestion. Secondly, replace Caresta the vampire with one of Strahd's brides. I like to replace her with Volenta, following Lunchbreak Hero's advice of making Volenta the roguish one of the three. Vanrakdoom is full of traps. You could say that Volenta set them. We could say that Volenta has indeed been residing in Argynvost, even to the point of moving her coffin there, so that she can oversee the eventual project which she hopes to be a Shadow Dragon steed for her husband Strahd. Indeed, in my campaign, I made it so that Volenta had been there for years, slowly but surely, with magic and cajoling, pushing Argynvost further into despair, into hopelessness, and into evil, hoping to cement Argynvost's status as a shadow dragon, at which point getting him to serve Strahd should be easy. So there's the second suggestion, replace Caresta with one of Strahd's brides. Third, replace most of Vanrakdoom's vampire spawn with cultists or skeletons in order to scale for the PC's anticipated level. In Curse of Strahd, when the PCs get to Argynvostholt, they're going to be levels 7 through 9 at the very most, and Vanrakdoom is intended as more of a tier 4 sort of adventure. So we're gonna want to scale back the number of enemies and reduce their type from more challenging to less challenging. Personally, I filled the place with skeletons and sword wraiths. I kept their creepy ceremonies and their chanting of how everything is hopeless. I think that adds really excellent flavor to the dungeon. But I just turned them into skeletons and ghosts and stuff. It worked pretty well. Fourth, and this should be obvious, eliminate all the tunnels and passages which are supposed to lead to other areas of Undermountain or the Underdark. This is Barovia, not Undermountain, just get rid of those things. Fifth, add a Sorrow Sworn, specifically the Lonely in Area 11. It's an amazing place to set up an ambush with one of the Lonely. It's going to use its harpoon melee attack to grab someone and just pull them into the dark, and then flee into the dark and crush them and try to do psychic damage to them until they're dead. The whole time it's going to be crying about how lonely it is. It separates the party. It's creepy as all heck. Definitely throw that in there right there in Area 11. Sixth, finally, and perhaps most importantly, let the Sun Sword of Barovia be the weapon which Godfrey originally used and which he killed himself with. Let the PCs assemble the Sun Sword across this dungeon, in other words. Every time they find a piece of it, its pommel or its handle, they are immediately contacted with a memory of that tragic narrative which involves Godfrey's fall and suicide, and which involves Argynvost's own moral corruption into Shadow Dragon. If you just read the dungeon, Vanrakdoom, you'll see that this is a very creative way to deliver a backstory for a bad guy that you could fight, or actually try to go all Care Bears with, and cheer up and save from despair. And I actually like the latter a bit more. At the end of it, after all, your PCs could have a dragon as an ally. Maybe like a one-time use or two-time use thing where they can call a dragon to aid them at any point as long as they're outdoors. And believe me, my PCs definitely did that. They lured Strahd outdoors, or rather he lured them outdoors, but as soon as they were outdoors, they unleashed the dragon on him. Anyway, when you're running Curse of Strahd, you should replace Argynvost with Vanrakdoom. It's a much more interesting dungeon, it accomplishes the same sort of story, but it does it better, and it provides a framing device for where they can find the Sun Sword. So what do you think about this proposal? Have you replaced Argynvost with another dungeon because you too were frustrated at its simplicity and its size? If so, which one did you replace it with? Do you think Vanrakdoom makes a good replacement? Why or why not? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you very much for watching this video. Don't forget to do all the internet things, click like and subscribe, and please hit the bell icon if you want notifications on the weekly content, which I always update onto this channel. Speaking of which, I'm sorry for updating this video a few hours late. I was sick this past week and it kind of delayed my video production. But I'll make it up to you by having extra videos this week. That's good news, right? Anyway, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.